In historical Londonderry in the northwest, the city wall still stands, a landmark respectfully maintained with a pride for the past. But there is a pride of present too, for nestling beneath the city wall is a landmark for the new Londonderry, and indeed a landmark for the Housing Trust. Decks of housing of in-situ concrete construction. Decks of gallery access flats whose very description provides an insight into the success of the factory-on-site type of industrialized building. It was thought that if the countryside was not to be overrun by housing developments, and if the high densities of population were to be rehoused close to the centres of towns and employment areas, a socially acceptable form of high dwelling had to be found. Gallery access flats provide the answer. It's like putting streets into a building. These wide galleries allow children to play at their own front door, the milkman to come along on his trolley, and prams provide little problem. Today, the gallery access flats and the ancient city wall of Londonderry each stand to denote a landmark to their respective causes. One ringed tightly around the confines of the old town, but the other, the cause and the purpose of the Northern Ireland Housing Trust, scattered far beyond the shadow of the wall. Housing estates throughout the province.
Should I move a wee bit?
No. Right. Just what was life in Derry like before the civil rights movement, and if you can, so you were there, what was it like?
Well, I mean, the housing situation was atrocious. I mean, basically it was slums. The housing situation was that desperate. People moved in and lived with their mothers and that when they were married, and sometimes made up 3 generations in one house, extended family. You had people there moving into Springtown camp, and they had their first march. They moved on after the Second World War. The Yanks moved out. It was supposed to be temporary accommodation, living in huts. I mean, they were never intended for families. It was supposed to be a temporary accommodation. They were still there in 1965, 66. I think the last family moved out late 65 or early 66, called Lynch. And the point is, there was upwards of 300 odd families there. And it was Protestant and Catholic, like, you know, so I mean, there made no difference, like, there's no kind of, although I would say the minority were Protestants. They held their first march in 1964. Some of the placards referred to Little Rock. That was a segregationist dispute going on in America. So it shows you even in 64 people were very conscious of what was happening in the States.
What was that in reference? What happened over there?
Well, you had the segregation of schools, and you had segregation of buses, and you had segregation of restaurants, you know, totally pure black and white, just like apartheid was in South Africa. So the point is, the Housing Action Committee would have been formed around by St. Patrick's Day 1968. And I always say the first Civil Rights March was really the Springtown March. I mean, there's photographs not up the stairs of that, right? So, and there's a book been written by Willie Deary on it, Springtown, the Inside Story. They also have a website, www.springtowncamp.com, and it's updated, and it's more or less, it links people all over the world who have links with Springtown Camp. So the housing density in Derry, like, of all the figures for that. But on the bog side, I reckon the housing density was something in the region of 125 per acre. That's why they built the multi-storey flats, because they wanted to keep the people in the South Ward. They didn't want to upset their political apple cart by people moving outside the South Ward.
What would be that? Why?
Because you had gerrymandering. You had South Ward was the biggest ward for nationalists, and when it came to election time, the Unionists elected 12 representatives, although they were a minority in the city, and we had a majority of about 19,000. And although we were a majority, we only elected 8 councillors, and there never was a mayor in Derry from the 1920s. You know, a nationalist mayor, and the last one was H.C. O'Doherty, right? So I mean that goes back a bit. So you had the best part of 50 years of gerrymandering. The mayor was in total control of housing, the allocation of houses. I mean, it's just all so hard to believe now. But I mean, the thing is, if they had to upset their electoral control, it would have meant then basically that all the plum jobs, you know, would still be, you know, would have been threatened. And out of the first 15 top officials in Derry City Council, not one was a nationalist.
Why was the flats, building flats there, important for them?
Because the point was that they built upwards to contain the people, you know, right, rather...
Spread out past the boundary?
That's why they wouldn't, that's why the urban council wouldn't accept responsibility for Springtown Camp, neither would the city council. Each one passed the buck to the other because it was on a boundary line. But that was only an excuse. You know, so the thing is that, I mean, Springtown Camp, I mean, was visited by, you know, a lot of politicians and things like that. Most of them, and Jane Russell adopted a child out of there, you know, and, you know, there's a lot of stories in Springtown Camp, but the thing was that that's how desperate the housing situation was, that people were moving into, you know, the actual flats, the actual tin huts, Nissen huts, army huts were kind of rotten from the ground up, you know, starting to rust and all the rest.
See the way you say the ward?
Yeah.
If Craigan expanded out, would that go into another ward? So that would mean they would need more representation?
Well, you see, Craigan wasn't built until Craigan was built. It didn't upset by building out towards Donegal, right? Craigan, it didn't upset the electoral balance. That was still. Remember, the Unions had a majority on the water side, right? And they even extended the boundary and the water side out into the country, and they called it the city ward. You know, this, I mean, gerrymandering is quite a cool. It was basically based on religious count head, you know, religious head count, right?
Local councillors were not elected on the same basis as their counterparts in Britain. Over a quarter of the population had no vote in local elections, and most people who owned factories, offices and shops had more than one vote. But this was not the only eccentricity in Northern Ireland local government. Many local authorities like Derry, with Catholic majorities, had unionist councils. The device that ensured control by the minority was known as gerrymandering, and involved drawing up the electoral boundaries in such a way as to favour one side. The Waterside ward had 3,500 Protestant voters and 1,800 Catholic. It elected 4 unionist councillors. In the North ward, 4,000 Protestant votes defeated 2,500 Catholic votes to return 8 unionists. In the South ward, 10,000 Catholic votes, as against 1,100 Protestant votes, returned 8 Catholic nationalist councillors. So in all, 12 Unionist and 8 Nationalist councillors were returned to sit in Derry's Guildhall. The Unionists controlled the council. 8,800 Protestant votes returned 12 councillors. 14,500 Catholic votes returned 8 councillors. Derry was not unique. Around the old walled city of Derry, a Catholic vote was, in effect, worth less than half a Protestant vote.
Now the point is, that's where gerrymandering actually how it operated. It operated on the basis that they broke up the city in such a way, right, that the nationalist minority would be contained within the South Ward. The nationalist majority would be contained in the South Ward, right. So the other two wards, the difference in the numbers of Catholics and Protestants, like the Waterside, there was no dispute. They had a big majority over there. They had a majority in the North Ward, but overall the city was gerrymandered. You know, by the way the city was broken up. So and there wasn't one man, one vote. You had to be a ratepayer to have you had a vote. In other words, you had to nearly be own your own house. Some businessmen had 6 votes. Going with John Hume, some of them had 20 votes. And they were usually big, well-off unionist voters, unionist businessmen.
But see, the South Ward, the purpose of the South Ward was to cram nationalists
into the South Ward.
And if you got a vote for a household, only the ratepayer got the vote.
That's it.
So you have a whole load of Catholics in one house.
That's right.
With only one vote, and you think that was carefully constructed?
The vote, you weren't automatically given a vote when you were 18. Like now, you know what I mean? Like the reason why we fought for one man, one vote, they had to bring in proportional representation.
What's that?
Well, proportional representation was that people could say vote 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It was a more equal system, right, than the first past the post. In other words, the first past the post was you only had one vote. You hadn't a choice of votes. You know, you put an X on the ballot paper. Whereas in proportional representation, you could number the one your preference, right? So I mean that was one of the big victories of the civil rights movement. Then we wanted boundary extension. They refused that. They refused boundary extension because they knew that if there was boundary extensions, that they'd have to build houses on the extended boundary.
So the point is, if the boundary is extended, there'll be more houses, and then there'll be more ratepayers, which means
exactly.
more votes for nationalists.
More votes for nationalists, and
They
didn't want that, right? So the point is that the proportional representation come in as well as that. There was other gains made, right? The Special Powers Act were abolished. The B specials were abolished. You had a number of major gains to the civil rights. Then you had legislation come in whereby if you were discriminated in a job, you could take a tribunal. Before that, there was no tribunals. In fact, when you went for a job, the first question they asked you what school you went to. You know, I mean, the point is that very few people on the buses or even cleaning the streets were Catholics. You know, these are things that are hard to believe there in this day and age. And then that's why the civil rights movement is kind of underestimated, because a lot of people don't understand. When they think of the civil rights movement, all they can see is people out in the street marching. They do not see behind the scenes all the, you know, what the demands was. Most of them couldn't tell you what the demands was, except one family, one house, one man, one vote. Of course.
What were the demands in?
Well, the demands was it should be one, it's very sexist. It should be one person, one vote, one family, one house. The Special Powers Act were abolished.
What was that?
The Special Powers Act.
Right, what, say it again?
Well, the Special Powers Act was actually an act which it had total control over nearly everything. It actually meant that the Minister of Home Affairs could sign at his own whim. He could sign a document declaring anything illegal. Now, vervoet, I think that was proper pronunciation in South Africa. Verwoerd, he was one of the top men in South African apartheid system. When English politicians were on them about the apartheid system, he said he would give up all his powers, right, under apartheid, if he could have one law, which the Minister of Home Affairs had in Northern Ireland, which would mean that he could turn around and make any law he wished without even consulting Parliament. He was sarcastic as far as he could bring in the laws as he seen fit without even consulting his Parliament. Right. So
the British were slagging him off, but what he was saying was just as bad.
Yeah, exactly. Right. In other words, and he wasn't far wrong. Right? I mean, right, there was a form of apartheid. There was industrial apartheid. Right, I was the one who invented that term.
What?
Industrial apartheid. Out of 224 industries come to Northern Ireland between 1945 and 1965, only something like 9% came west of the Ban. Now they refused to build advanced factories. Then they turned around and the government training centres were unheard of until the mid-60s. As a result of the housing, the unemployed action committees were fighting for that. So Brian Faulkner, I'm just jumping away from Houser for a minute, but Brian Faulkner once was advised by his civil servants that the dairy unemployed were unemployable, and he made that statement at a meeting in the city hotel. So we took over. We didn't take over.
Unemployable because they were useless.
He was saying they were useless, right?
Brian Faulkner is that?
Yes, but he was advised by civil servants. Civil servants, right? Civil servants more or less told him, look, there's no skills in dairy, right? So we got a snuff factory owned by Grants next door to the Dole on Bishop Street, and we collected about 2,000 assessments, questionnaire for the unemployed, and we asked them their name, their address, their past employment experience, how long they were, how long they were unemployed in Derry, how long they spent out of Derry. We took all that to McGee College. An economist we knew out there, and people that were doing social studies and that, and they analysed all the stuff. We didn't feel capable of doing it, so we got academics to do it for us. Now it ended up with some of the people that we interviewed worked in Rolls Royce, right? They were building trains, they were building cars. A lot of them were engineers by profession. They worked, some of them were traffic controllers and God knows what. The skills that they had, and remember Derry in those days depended on the woman. As Coulter's song says, the men on the dole played a mother's role. They walked the dogs and the woman went out and worked.
Men couldn't get jobs because of the unions.
Men couldn't get jobs, right? I mean, and it was an immigration rate. Derry had a 10% immigration rate. Out of the whole of Northern Ireland, every year it was 10% left Derry.
Was that higher than other places?
Much higher. Belfast had the bulk of the industries. Then what happened was.
What about Northampton? This is like that there. Nobody, they've lost their job now.
I know, but remember this. They had Sirocco. They had Harden and Wolf. They had the Mackeys. These were all the major big industrial concerns. Now that's why a lot of the Protestant people didn't put much emphasis on education, because they said, why waste time at universities? You can work on your job tomorrow. Couldn't say that in Derry. So, like the Special Powers Act, I mean, the NCCL in the 1930s, the National Council of Civil Liberties, they compared Northern Ireland with the fascist dictatorships then current in Europe.
Say that again, who?
The NCCL, National Council of Civil Liberties, right?
Where are they out of?
Well, they're English based. An inquiry carried out by the National Council of Civil Liberties in 1936, I swear back as that, commented the Unionists had created the shadow of a under the shadow of the British Constitution, a permanent machine of dictatorship. The NCCL compared Northern Ireland to the Thatcherist dictatorships then current in Europe. I'm referring to myself. This author would suggest that the Special Powers Act was retained in the 6 counties by the ruling class bullies to intimidate a subject people, since it applied to no other region in the United Kingdom. Well, you could protest, but the point is, at the end of the day, you were going to, you always had that in the back of your mind that you were going to be photographed by the special branch, your house would be raided. They would try and find out what you're up to and who your friends was, and you were under surveillance. Yeah. So, I mean...
Even if... The way
and then your internment, like in the 50s. Whoever thought in the 60s it would return again, but it did return again. That shadow was always there, behind you, So, I mean, they could search your house without a warrant. And at any time of the day or night. And they could declare a curfew, right? On meetings, they could prohibit meetings, assemblies, including fairs and markets. They could permit punishment by flogging, right?
When did that end?
Well, that didn't end. That didn't end. Say the early 50s. That was called the cat of nine tails, right? Well, I think one of the last men in Derry to be flogged was Jerry the Bird Doherty. They could deny you any claim to a trial by jury. And these are very basic.
That go up right up into the 60s?
Right up into the 60s. This was all in the law up until they were abolished, sometime in 69. They could arrest persons if the police desired to examine as witnesses and forcibly detain them and compel them to answer questions on their penalties, even if the answers might intimidate them. So no right of silence. You understand the right of silence. Such a person was guilty of an offence if he or she refused to be sworn or answer a question.
So I would ask the young person, how would your mother feel if you went out in the morning and he disappeared, and the police wouldn't say if they had you?
And if he went to court and you're looking for, you wanted the court to decide where, habeas corpus, reduce the body, then they could refuse habeas corpus, right? You could be got the 9 tails. You had no right of silence, right? Now, they had every right to interfere with the rights of private property. That's hard to believe now. No, was to come in and wreck this house, and I'd have to repair it all myself. Like, whereas after civil rights, if the British men wrecked your house, you'd take an action against them. The Northern Ireland office. And they could prohibit the hold of an inquest after a prisoner died. They could prohibit it. In other words, you could be kicked to death in that barracks down the street, and nobody, they could turn around and say there's going to be no inquest. Well, there's still people in this bloody country waiting 40 years for inquests, including the bloody Sunday people. They could arrest a person by word of mouth. Right, yeah. If a person circulated anything by word of mouth, say against the government, spread false rumours, or makes false statements, and in other words, if you're being critical of the government, you can be arrested. Prohibit the circulation of any newspaper. Now, United Irishman was banned. We used to be smuggling it over the border. You couldn't go around selling United Irishman. You get 6 months. If you were found smuggling it, you were seen as a supplier, like a fucking drug dealer now. You were given about 3 years. They could prohibit possession of any films or gramophone records. In other words, if you had a film Miss Era or Sean South and Gary Owen or something like that, I mean, these things are hard to believe now in this day and age. Arrest a person who does anything circulated, not calculated, who does anything calculated to be presidential to the preservation of peace and maintenance of order in Northern Ireland, and not specifically provided for in the legislation. In other words, a policeman could decide, without anything in legislation, and if he decided you were a bloody nuisance, right, you could be arrested and held. Let's say you no freedom of speech in the proper sense that we know it now. And the Act allowed the Minister of Home Affairs to create new crimes. He could create a new crime by government decree. And it became a crime to name a club a Republican club. Now, Sinn Féin was banned in the 60s, so we formed Republican clubs. They were banned too. They're just special players, actually.
So if you were saying like a young person now, they're free now to apply for any job, and the fact that they're Catholic or Protestant.
We have legislation, fair equality legislation.
Would you say it's a direct legacy of the civil rights movement?
Most certainly is. You had, and not only that, the campaign for the McBride principles. That mainly was the continuation of the civil rights movement. Whereas the companies had to give a breakdown of their employees. In other words, a company just couldn't employ 99% product.
McBride was here.
Pardon?
Was that for here only? That McBride?
McBride principles. They were brought in America. But I mean, the point was we by that stage, the civil rights movement had been shut off the streets. Bloody Sunday, the civil rights movement started, say, 64. So within what? Bloody Sunday was the end of the civil rights movement. All right, we had a big march in Uri afterwards, but that was the death knell of the civil rights movement. How could you go out and tell people to protest passively, non-violent protest? Nothing will happen if you go out in non-violent protest. We told them that on the 5th of October, they were battened off the street. We believed that on Bloody Sunday that we could march against internment without charge or trial. I remember no charge or trial. I had a brother in Term for 3 years for teaching Irish. He was only dead a couple of months, as you know.
Speaking Irish too, you was arrested?
I was arrested speaking Irish.
Big specials?
Big specials arrested him. He was in Term for 3 years. And he wasn't nothing. He wasn't in Sinn Féin, he wasn't a Fianna, he wasn't an IRA. Leo. Gael Gorey, in other words, he was a speaker of the language and a promoter of the Gaelic League, which is a league set up way back in the last century, well, the century before it, or the early part of the last century, right, to promote the Irish language. So, I mean, and it wasn't the only one locked up for teaching Irish.
The early 1900s, you're talking...
The Gaelic League, Conrad and the Gaelic, that's called. The League for Gaelic, Conrad and the Gaelic, it means Gaelic League.
So you usually say in the civil rights movement, Bloody Sunday, do you think the IRA then took over?
I think that the best recruiting agent that the IRA had was Reverend Paisley, right, and the Paisleyite element, right. They went out and we were dedicated to peaceful change, right. When Bloody Sunday happened, it took away, how could we anymore talk about achieving things through peaceful means? And that gave the hardline Republicans our argument we couldn't use anymore.
So that split the movement, took it off the streets from normal people.
The young people started saying if we're going to be shot in the streets, we're all going to be guns, not placards. I mean, that's what it boils down to. People say to me, look, Fionnbarra, you still believe that we'll achieve things with peaceful means? Look, they're dying dead in the street, you know what I mean? So, Bloody Sunday was designed in the hope that they could attract the provisional and official IRA out. Remember, the provisionals weren't established until, say, they really didn't get off the ground after Bloody Sunday. So the officials were still the dominant force, official IRA. So, I mean, they were literally queued up to join the Provost. Queued up, I'm not exaggerating. at the bloody Sunday, the multi-storey flats, there was queues of blokes that maybe never read a book in Irish history, but they seen history before their eyes. You know, so I mean, everything had changed. As Yeats says, everything's changed utterly. A terrible beauty was born, you know. So it's all interwoven. You can't just take unemployment on its own. You can't take housing on its own. The gerrymander comes into it. The repression comes under on the Special Powers Act. The Flags and Emblems Act is another thing. You couldn't carry the tricolour. You couldn't celebrate St Patrick's Day in Derry or any nationalist area. But you could celebrate in Melbourne, Australia. It's all right. London. But not here.
You couldn't, so like young people now have the freedom to celebrate St Patrick's Day.
Exactly. As simple as that. In 1952, right, a group of nationalists, including say some of my older relatives, and Eddie McAteer carried the tricolour from up round the Diamond down on the Guildhall Square to hold a meeting. They were attacked, right? There was a song written at the time, right? It was on the 17th of March in the year of 52. Inside the walls there were some squalls, that's where the deeds were done. Some Irishmen, they bore the flag of orange, white and green. Brooks RUC dare not agree to let the flag be seen. So they basically cheated on right? Stuff like that. And they arrested them. And they were tortured, you know. Then the clergymen, they put a clamp on the St Patrick's Day parades.
The Catholic clergy?
Catholic clergy are very powerful, too powerful.
What did they say don't go out on St Patrick's Day?
Oh yeah, they put a lot of pressure on the nationalists.
Because
Because the flag was illegal, but they wanted, their argument was simply this. This is St Patrick's Day. It's celebrated all over the world. All we want is a wee march from the centre of the town down the Guildhall and hold a wee St Patrick's Day parade over the length of one street. And the RUC could not even tolerate them walking down Shipway Street. Now, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it was the same night of October. Big tenders. They block Simpson's Brae. So we take Duke Street. There was no alleyways off it.
Duke Street's no other side, isn't it?
Yeah, but it wasn't like that then. It was just one big long street. There was no alleys. There was no escape from Duke Street in the old days. So we were in a dark tunnel with the police in front of us batting us and the water working behind us. You know what I mean? Now, Sister Derry, she jumped on an ambulance and went to the hospital and she x-rayed about 80 skulls. She was off duty, like, but she knew there was only one girl on. And then they blocked Craigavon Bridge so the injured people couldn't get across after a certain time. So she was sent to leave the hospital after midnight. And one of the first men she x-rayed was Jerry Fitt. And he'd been in my house before with the civil rights leaders, having their you know, their wee light breakfast and all that, and a wee quick meeting before the march. And they brought across 3 MPs from England, thinking that with 3 Labour MPs and Jerry Fitt, they wouldn't attack us. They were our insurance policy, but that was no insurance policy. He was the first to be battened, an MP. You know what I mean? I'm laughing now, but the thing is this here, and the irony of it all. I mean, the young people would have to really study the whole thing, you know what I mean? They haven't got a clue. They haven't got a clue what the hell. When they see civil rights, all they think about is the marching. And most of them couldn't tell you what they were marching for. What we were marching for, but I'm telling you what we're marching for. Paisley, he blocked every civil rights march. He organised the attack in Burntollet. He led the Cromer Square riots, right, in 1964 because Billy McMillan put a tricolour in his election window. After all, he was entitled to do that. He was standing as a Republican candidate up in David Street. Put a tricolour on his election headquarters. And Paisley said if the RUC didn't go and remove the tricolour, he would personally to march, he would remove it. So the RUC went in and smashed the window and took the tricolour away, and A whole riot broke out. Well, Ian Paisley, just before, like every speech was anti-Catholic. Every speech, like, every speech was like about. He was playing on their siege mentality. He played on their fears. You know, and deep down, a lot of unions are still under denial. They still deny that anything was wrong under the old Stormont. I mean, Gregory Campbell won't admit it, and I've been on radio programs with unionists. They don't admit it. They come out and say things like, "Oh, the Protestant people were badly treated too." Well, they were, but at the end of the day, it was everything was. It was a matter of degree, and
Nobody sat down with a plan to discriminate against Protestants.
well, that's true too.
Ever, like they weren't gerrymandered against.
No.
They weren't staffing people's jobs or houses.
No.
So what they're talking about then is just the general poverty of back then.
Right, right. But the thing is, all right. So Protestants had outside toilets. Well, so most of us had in those days. But there was no. It was institutionalized discrimination.
They weren't.
They weren't institutionalized discrimination.
They're talking about whenever they say there's 6 people in the house and they'd no job, whatever. It's just because general poverty at the time.
Right.
They weren't. The government didn't have a plan to discriminate against them. They're talking about general poverty that everybody in Britain and Ireland were living under.
Yeah, but the point is that a lot of prominent Protestants did join the Civil Rights Movement. You know,
Why?
Claude Walton. Why? Because they believed in democracy. They believed in a fair play for everybody. Claude Walton, Betty Sinclair, second of the Belfast East Council, Ronnie Bunton, who was Major Bunton's son, and Major Bunton was Paisley's right-hand man. Noel Little, and you had Presbyterians in there. You even had Claude Austin and the Diamond, the big store. He was in the early days, and then he thought it was too militant for us to sit in Guildhall Square. So I think he that was an excuse for him to get out. He knew that we weren't just going to have a wee meeting outside the Guildhall. You knew we were taking to the streets. But the point is that every issue is all interconnected. It's until you actually see the big picture. Like you had the unemployed fighting for jobs and say government training centre. And then you had the housing people. And then they began to realise, well, we could be better housing if we had better jobs and things like that. And then special powers, when they started using special powers against the Housing Action Committee and different people like. And
They just say they're illegal?
No, they just done everything they could to disrupt this. I mean, we weren't allowed, when we went into Guildhall to make a presentation to the council, the mayor would be in the chair and he would say, "You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to speak." They done it with the Springtown camp people too, and told them if they carried placards or sang songs, they would stop the march. So it had to be a silent march. And even the stewards were not allowed to talk to people. All the stewards don't have signals. This is unbelievable this day and age now. But so we weren't allowed to speak, and we went in and we insisted on speaking. The police were called right away. In fact, the police were more or less tipped off. They're coming down. They were just round the corner and out. Right, right. So.
Do you think that the fact that the IRA took control after the Civil Rights Movement was violently put down? What's your opinion on now today, the Civil Rights Movement, as you say, young people don't know what it was about, they see black and white footage. Do you think that has kind of stopped its legacy because of the violence that came after?
Well, I think I done it. I think there's two ways of looking at it, right? I mean, if you're not allowed to protest against internment without charge or trial, Well, what the hell can you protest about? I mean, just think about it. You can lock people up, not only lock them up, but they were tortured. There was, 13 men tortured, including two good friends of mine. Mickey Montgomery and Mickey Donnelly. Mickey's dead now, Mickey Donnelly's still living now. And a number of the hooded men are still living. A lot of them died very young. But they were actually tortured, taken up in helicopters and thrown out, and told they were 200 feet off the ground, maybe only about 15 or 20 feet off the ground. And they had hoods on, they were fed bread and through the hood, and then they threw water over them, and they weren't allowed to go to the fucking toilet. They're up against the wall, you know, they had what they call the white noise. I mean, the thing is, if we couldn't protest against that without being shut off the streets, what chance? There was going to be some reaction from the nationalist people. They were going to say, look, listen, we have to be able to defend ourselves. And remember in '69, the loyalists and Belfast and the Apollo group, and they burned down Bombay Street. And see, when they left their houses, they set their own houses on fire, so the nationalists couldn't move in them. You know, it's all interconnected.
Do you think the civil rights movement, it's not cherished as it should be? Do you think part that's a result of the violence that came after it?
I do believe, but the point is, that violence was inevitable. I mean, how could the civil rights movement keep going under its policies?
You've answered that. Now, today,
yeah,
it's like it was an important event, but bombs and blood and all that there will take over, will be remembered more prominently.
Well, you see, the point is, people like Gregory Campbell blame the likes of me for starting the Troubles. I didn't start the Troubles. Troubles started before I was born. And it wasn't me that started the Troubles, it was the bloody men that set up Stormont. Remember when they set up Stormont, they said there's a Protestant parliament for the Protestant people? Well, if that's not institutionalised sectarianism, I don't know what is. You know, and even Lord Carson and some of the leading loyalists says, let's give the Catholics a fair deal and they'll be loyal citizens. Even O'Neill says that. Give the Catholics a job, he says, and he said they'll turn out like good Protestants. So, like, there was always a liberal wing in unionism. Not too liberal now, but liberal enough. You know, and the men like Carson, they were educated in Dublin, you know what I mean? And I mean, said that Carson played Gaelic football, and he played, you know, he's went to Trinity College and all the rest, and you know.
But today nobody remembers the civil rights movement, not in any great depth. It's like a visual cue at the start of a documentary. You see, like, Butcher Street, is it? The civil rights movement banner. It's not remembered. Duke
Street, no, it's not remembered because it's not remembered because more dramatic events took over. You know, like, I mean, and then people wrongly associate the civil rights movement with, you know, they actually believe the unionist propaganda. CRA was IRA in disguise. That wasn't true. The civil rights movement before the 5th of October was only a lobby group. And they wanted to be like the NCCL.
What year was that?
It was founded in January. I was at the first meeting. It was founded in January 1967 in Belfast.
The NICRA?
Yeah.
Right.
And there was about, I would say, a third of the people at that meeting were Protestants. You know, and members of the Communist Party, trade unionists, people were liberal minded, and they knew what was going on. And then you had like the campaign for social justice. I mean, they deserve a mention. They're the ones that done most of the research. You know, for that.
Back then.
Before the civil rights movement started, Dr. Colm McCluskey, his wife Patricia, and she was elected on the local council. Both of them are now dead. But he was 99 or something when he died. He only died a couple of years ago. But
what was their role?
What they used to do, they put their own money into the campaign, and they would cut things out of the papers, all discrimination and things like that, without any comment. just photocopy them, send them out, the MPs and all. You let them know what's going on here. Right, so, in other words, then you had Paul Rose, you had Jerry Fitt, and a few other names I forget now. Labour MPs mainly, or all of them were Labour MPs. Stanley Orme was another. A couple of Liberals. There weren't all, no, there were a couple of Liberals there. Sheila Moynihan, right? She visited Springtown Camp. And they started raising questions to Stormont or Westminster. But remember this, there was a rule in Westminster that Northern Ireland affairs were not allowed to be discussed. In other words, they could not discuss Northern Ireland affairs in Westminster, even though Britain was paying the block grant. If the Britain took away the block grant of the 6 counties tomorrow, the place would collapse. Today. If they took it out since 1920, it would collapse. This place cannot stand economically on its own.
Is it still known as a block grant?
A block grant, still known as a block grant. So, I mean, that's what pays your welfare and all the rest. Without the block grant, right, the block grant covered everything. Covered the B specials. Britain actually turned a blind eye, and Nelsonian eye, what was happening in Northern Ireland, because at the end of the day, remember, they set up this parliament.
Like you're playing people in McCluskey, why aren't they held up as you should be inspired by them today? No young people.
Well, this is
they're
it.
forgotten. I don't know.
No, I know, they're forgotten. All these things we fought for, right? We can't let a generation, if the generation doesn't know, if this modern generation doesn't know what we fought for, that means those rights could be gradually taken away from them without them even understanding that there was a big high price paid, and not just in terms of doing time in jail, but in terms of people being bumped off and all the rest, because they're standing civil rights. People forget the martyrs of the civil rights movement; they're forgotten too. You know.
That's the fallen there.
What?
That's this fallen there, what you just said.
What, the martyrs?
No, if you don't learn, if the young people don't learn, and the rights are
That's what I
taken
mean.
away, that's what I'm talking about.
Gradually, they can be done gradually.
That's what this is.
Yeah, right. So, and the thing is that Stormont now, I mean, it's a joke. I mean, all they do is bring in a petition concern any party and block it. Only a couple of weeks ago, the majority in Stormont voted for equal marriage. You know, between it, you understand me? Equality in the marriage. Although the majority voted for it, the DUP brought in a petition concern, which meant it didn't pass any law. So it's already happening. The things we fought for are being undermined already. Not just in the future, they'll be done now. You know, and so we're being run by people who are, they have creationists who believe that the world is only 4,000 years old. I mean, there's people up there running this country that think that Adam and Eve actually existed. You know what I mean? And the wee apple in a tree and a snake came along and talked to them, talking snake. Come on. You know what I mean? Come. And they believe every word in the Bible. And the Bible's full of contradictions. But they don't see the contradictions. So that's a kind of element, like. You know, and they actually believe that, like, the hypocrisy of people like the woman Robinson talking about premarital sex. And about gay people, gay people should go and see a psychiatrist and they can be cured. You can't accept that people are actually born gay or born straight or born heterosexual. Everybody struggles with it, right? We don't struggle if you're born heterosexual. You just have to, that's so, But remember that minority has had to fight its way, just like the woman. And the woman's equality has not come in yet. Women are still far behind when it comes to wages. and comes promotion, and many women on the board, many women in Stormont, many women, you know what I mean? So women have so civil rights is not something in the past, it's still part of the ongoing struggle for progress. So, so basically, like, I mean, I'm quite proud of the work that we did, even if the people don't appreciate it. You know, not just me, I'm talking generationally. And the point is that, you know, put it this way, we only had about 400 the first March, and maybe it grew to 1,000. But there was 10,000 watching a soccer match in the Brandywell. So that's how relevant we were.
As a start.
We were considered a bunch of fucking nutters. You understand what I mean?
Still are.
You know what I mean? We were considered just malcontents, you know what I mean? But then there was a feeling in the older generation, you've not changed nothing. You're hitting your head against a stone wall. I mean, my father used to me, look, you're hitting your head, look, we tried all that. You know, and he was a decorated veteran, the war with the veterans, you know what I mean? So,
He was telling you to rise up.
exactly, you know, but you know, you get what I'm trying to say, like, but we persevered. And then, of course, I mean, a lot of people who've seen a career came into the civil rights movement, but they had to step aside the civil rights movement once they were elected, you know what I mean? But then we couldn't be opposed to people standing in Parliament, who we knew would be sympathetic to the civil rights cause. Even though I hated Stormont, still do. And I spoke at every one of Ivan Cooper's meetings. And, you know, every one of his meetings, and he was elected. Because the doors were open in the GA and all the rest. So,